Hello, 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 all, and welcome to the Good Witch. I am still here at Usha Village, continuing this bright and beautiful journey. I'm choosing to record outside today because, I'm actually going to be on camera, and the scenery is just too much to let you all miss out on. So, we have been going over the spiritual laws of success. Um, we went over the law of pure potentiality. And honestly, that was the first law that we went over. And that law actually encompasses them all. The next law that we're going to go over is the law of karma, or the law of cause and effect. We're not going to focus so much on the actual law, but we are going to dig into what it means and how to apply it. So we all know the law of cause and effect, and we've all heard the phrase of karma. You know, you reap what you sow. Karma's a bitch. Karma's a bad bitch if I make her. Whatever we say about karma. But we tend to focus on the negative aspects of karma. Karma is a beautiful thing. If you are the type of person to give love out, then you will get love back. And what happens, why karma has gotten such a negative overview, or why people tend to look at it so badly, is because people complain louder than they give gratitude. If people were to talk about all the good karma they received and all of the blessings that they received from, doing something great or being great or giving something and receiving something back in a good way, then karma would have a much better connotation. So we want to look at karma as a gift, because we're on our path to being better people, right? And if you're not, then you will be. We're going to talk about how to transmute and transfer karma as well. In Vedic astrology, it said that karma is the eternal assertion of human freedom. Karma is the eternal assertion of human freedom. Hold on to that. Our thoughts, our words, our deeds are threads of the net which we throw around ourselves. Thoughts, words, and deeds all produce karma. Now, karma can be transmuted and moved about simply by our actions, our responses. So we look at the word responsibility and we think it means to be held accountable for, correct? No. We're wrong if that's what you think. You think taking responsibility for something means that it's your fault, admitting that it's your fault. That's not what responsibility is. Responsibility, we overcomplicate the word. Responsibility is simply your ability to respond. How are you going to respond to this situation? So our responses create our responsibility. Understanding that things just are sometimes, yes, things are created because of cause and effect. But this could be a cause that happened 100 years ago that you had nothing to do with. Could be your effect, could be now. So we want to look at that and we want to take heed of that, knowing that everything that is happening in our lives may not necessarily be our fault in this lifetime. That's a little deep for most, so let's not, you're going to have to, subscribe to the Patreon to get that deep off into it, okay? So obviously you want to create happiness for the people that you love and the people around you. You want to look at it and you want to make sure that that's what you're doing, because when you put that out, like when you make your child happy, you in turn create happiness for yourself. When you make sure your loved ones are secure, you in turn receive security for yourself. And we take care of our children, and in that we are also taking care of ourselves, or we should be. Deepak Chopra had a talk or interview, and he actually wrote it in his book, The 7 Spiritual Laws, where he is talking about the way we all walk around as big bundles of emotional responses. So we're not really taking into account, good morning, we're not really taking into account the responsibility that we have in our own emotions. You can choose to be offended if someone offends you, or you can choose to be flattered if someone flatters you. You don't have to be. People typically walk around in a big bundle of emotional responses, not really paying attention to the choices that they're making at that very present moment. They're either looking at something in the past or looking at something in the future. And when you're looking that way, you're not able to make conscious decisions about the future that you want. Hence the law of cause and effect, or the laws of karma. So you're not even being an active participant in that law most of the time, because you're too busy being responsive instead of responsible with your emotions and with your thoughts, your actions, and your words. Thoughts, actions, words, okay? So we talked about the law of giving, and we agreed that in the law of potentiality, we were going to not be judgmental. And we talked about this as well. And I gotta quit saying we talked about this, because some of y'all, this is y'all first time seeing me. This is your first video with the Good Witch. But we are spending time between receiving something and accepting something where there's this judgment. And if we live in that gap of receiving and not getting to the point of judgment, then we're automatically living in the present. And therefore we can be more conscious of our thoughts, deeds, and words, because we're not judging it for what we wish it was or what we wish it to be. We're accepting it for what it is and making a decision based off of this gift, this present moment, this gift moment, right? So we have the ability to respond in a better way. That is our responsibility. Our responsibility is responding appropriately in this gift moment. Not blaming anyone else for your situation, and not blaming yourself either. We get we take responsibility by not blaming yourself. No. That's not taking responsibility. Because even if it can be directly linked to someone, right? And yes, we pay attention to those things in other laws so that we can change our actions and we take heed, but that's also something that we do in the present. So let's look at it this way. If instead of, let's say, I fell down because I tripped over a skateboard that was left on the floor, right? So I could say, whose responsibility is that? Whose fault is that? We spend so much time finding fault and not taking responsibility. Now, there is a time between accepting the fact that I failed and judging what's happening, where there's a gap where I can make a decision in that present moment. So that is where we have our power, in that moment. That is where we have the most power, in that moment. So I can trip over the skateboard and then decide, you know what? It's my daughter's fault for leaving her toys out. Cause and effect. Got it. You know what? It's not her fault. I'm going to take responsibility because it's my fault, because I should have been paying attention to where I was going. Owning it. In each of these situations, I'm judging, right? Or I could pay conscious attention to what happened. Maybe there was something I was meant to see, a message I was meant to hear, something that was lower than I was looking that I needed to see, and I'm now in a position to see it. Maybe there is a process where I am, instead of judging what's happened, I'm grateful that I'm okay. Instead of immediately going to that judgment, where I'm grateful that, you know what? Oh, I failed. I'm okay. Thank you. And being at peace with that instead of getting angry at my child and going to release negative energy on her, right? Because I'm responding that way, or getting angry at myself and releasing internal negative energy saying, oh, well, I just have to be more careful and watch where I'm going, and giving myself negative energy. Or I could say, I fail. I'm okay. Get up, move the skateboard so that the next person who maybe, if they fall, they might not be okay. I just saved them from something, and thinking of it as an opportunity to help someone else. Should I talk to my child about putting her things away? And should I know that I should pay more attention to where I'm going? Possibly. That could very well be the situation. But my immediate response is my responsibility. Going directly to fault and blame is not how you operate in the law of karma. So living in that gap is how you transmute and transcend said karma. Okay? So most of us are conditioned with a group of responses. If someone calls you handsome or someone calls you pretty, you feel flattered, you're giggling. Someone calls you ugly, someone calls you annoying, you feel offended and you're hurt, and you act according to those ways instead of responding to each of those things and deciding whether or not you wanted to engage in that activity or not. Make your choices. Make your decisions in the gap. That is the true nature of the law of cause and effect. Listen to your gut. When you're in that gap, you'll constantly listen to your solar plexus and your heart chakra. People are often torn between the mind, brain, not the brain, the mind, and the heart, right? Because the heart is said to be soft and mushy and it makes weak decisions. No. If your brain can stop for a way longer time than your heart can. Your heart is intuitive. Your heart has a connection that is way outside of this physical realm. If you're living in that gap, then you're moving in your heart, and your heart chakra is strong, and you're able to give freely and know that it's returning because of the law of cause and effect and living in the gap. Okay? So, law of karma says no debt in the universe ever goes unpaid, right? So it's an accounting system for the universe because energy is constantly going to and fro. There will be karma for me making this video. There will be karma for me not making this video. Doesn't mean it's going to be a bad thing, right? Transmute everything. I challenge you to transmute everything into a desirable experience because it's all about your responses. Let's see. So when you're living in the gap, explanation of why you transmute or transcend karma when you're living in the gap is because you are living outside of it. You exempt yourself from it. So if you do something, and let's say someone gets hurt, or you're not saying I'm not responsible. You're not saying I couldn't have done something differently. That's not what you're saying. You're saying I'm not owning this as a mistake and continuously beating myself up about it. I'm not guilting you into feeling guilty about what you did and what happened to me because of it. That's not what you're doing. You are deciding how to respond to whatever the situation may be. and make it a positive experience for you and the people around you, and as many people as you can. So, witness the choices that you make is one way. Witnessing your choices is a way to operate in the law of karma. So, not judging them, but witnessing them, seeing them, seeing that you are making choices even when you don't intend to make choices. You're making choices all day long, whether to sit, whether to stand, whether to cry, whether not to cry, whether to leave, whether to go, whether to scream, whether not to scream. You're making choices all day long. That's why when you meditate, breath is so important. Because breath is one of those things that, yes, we can control, but even if we don't control it, it will happen without us. And it will happen with us. Now I've gotten into the points where I don't even kill mosquitoes and ants. I just kind of shoo them away. So when you're witnessing your choices, you're bringing them to your conscious awareness so that the next time you're in the gap, you'll respond more appropriately. When you think about your choices after you witness them, ask yourself, what are the consequences of the choice that I'm making, even before you make the choice? Because when you're in the gap, you have the time. When you're responding, or judging, when you're judging, you don't have the time to respond appropriately. I'm trying to find the best way to articulate that. When you're judging, you don't have the time to respond appropriately because you're occupied with judging. But if you're not judging and you're simply using your ability to respond, your ability to give response, your responsibility, you are able, and you have the time, and you have the energy and the mental fortitude to ask yourself the questions about the choice that you're making. What are the consequences of this choice? And will this choice bring fulfillment or happiness or joy or peace or turmoil or trauma to myself and the people that are around me and that I love and that I care about, who are affected by this choice? And you have the opportunity to sit and think. Like when we go back to the skateboard scenario, immediately getting angry and responding to the judgment that I make off of the skateboard could be detrimental to someone else's health, because I'm too busy trying to figure out or going to look for my child to make her move this skateboard that she left. Somebody else walks by, falls, and breaks their hip. Or I'm so busy being down on myself about not paying attention to what I was supposed to do that I missed a download or an energy transfer that I was hoping for. I missed out on going to do something because I've tricked myself mentally into thinking that I'm in pain because I'm emotionally in pain because I've judged myself so harshly. Right? So we want to make sure that we respond appropriately. That is your responsibility. And sometimes we go to judgment because we're uncertain. And when you're uncertain, ask your heart for guidance, not your mind. Ask your heart for guidance, and it'll keep you in a place of creating good karma. So ask your heart for guidance instead of your mind, and that will keep you on the positive side of the law of cause and effect, the law of karma. All right, y'all? Peace, love, and light, y'all. Please remember to like, share, subscribe, comment, and love, and check out the description box below. I do it because I love you and no other reason, honestly. Peace.